Welcome back to this week's edition of Freedom and Prosperity Radio. You can find out more about the Virginia Institute for Public Policy on our website, virginiainstitute.org. We also archive all our interviews on our YouTube channel. Just search Freedom and Prosperity Radio. The next man is always seemingly one of the most sought after and most important people in Virginia. At some point, I'm sure he hopes that we get to a point where we don't need him as much as we do. He is the president of the Virginia Citizens Defense League. He is Philip Van Cleave. How are you doing this weekend, Philip? Happy Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah, happy Memorial Day to you as well. I'm doing as well as can be expected in this crazy world we live in.
I don't even know where to begin. I know that it's a heady story, the Supreme Court agreeing to take up a Second Amendment case, which stood out just in the fact that they agreed to take it up. But I also want to see if you've been following this case out of Oregon, where the voters themselves brought referendum and passed a referendum creating a Second Amendment sanctuary in this county, Columbia County, and now the elected representatives are suing and bringing them into court to get it overturned. I don't know if you've been following that at all, but first, what do you make of this?
I saw a little of it.
The Supreme Court, deciding to start weighing in again for the first time since Heller on the Second Amendment?
Yeah, and it's way past due. They've been ignoring Second Amendment for years, and it's such a critical item. I don't know why they've been dodging, but now the makeup's a little different. That may be partly to explain, maybe not. But they're looking at New York with its may issue permits. May issue means that it's up to a judge whether you get a permit, and usually they can turn you down for any reason they want.
Right, you have to prove that you need a permit to carry.
Right, and they have to agree that what you have is a need. I mean, sometimes I think you could walk in with a knife in your back and they'd still say, I'm not so sure you really need one.
Yeah, it's too late now. I mean, this is too late. And this has always been the case in New York, and yet, we see the gun violence go up and the criminal element in New York just empowered more and more each time, each passing generation, it seems.
Yeah, it's all gotten to the point where, we need to make a decision on this. Either we have a right to defend ourselves, and if we do, it's everywhere. According to the Second Amendment, it is everywhere, or it's not. And New York, New Jersey, California, Maryland, all these states. There are 8 states that are may issue. 42 are shall issue, which is what Virginia is. It says they shall give you a permit unless they can show, the government can show that you shouldn't have one because you're a criminal or something or mentally insane. That's the standard for the nation. But there's 8 holdouts, and New York and New Jersey being 2 of the big ones, and the crime rates, are they're up there. Gun control doesn't work. It works in reverse. It makes things more dangerous. It was never meant to stop crime. It was meant from the beginning to keep minorities, especially blacks, from owning guns. That was the root of it back in the mid-1800s.
Well, let me ask you this, because in Richmond, appeals are being heard this week on one of the most horrific, mass shooting events, and I think it set us on a course towards a lot of the crazy racial tension that we're having now, and that's the one in Charleston, South Carolina, where the lawyers for the shooter are now saying that he had psychological issues, he was delusional, and I worry that they're opening a Pandora's box for red flag laws and more gun confiscations based simply now on a moving target of what is a delusion, because if I'm not mistaken, 6 months ago it was a delusion to think that the COVID-19 came from a lab in China, and now it's mainstream news. So what is one person's delusion may be another person's fact 6 months from now.
Yeah, well, people that think gun control works are all deluded. So I guess they're all going to get red flagged. It's they're again, the other side that doesn't like guns, doesn't like the freedom that comes with them, and so forth. they're going to be looking for every excuse they can. So, if they can't get it one way, they'll try to get it another. And so one of the things they're doing is, these red flag laws, which totally go against everything in the Constitution. Police come along and take your property away, and they don't even tell you they're coming or why. It could be a huge surprise to you when they show up and demand your guns. Here in Virginia, we managed to tame that law back to where they can't come up with the red flag and just come up to your door and come in and take all your guns. They ask you for them, and only if they have probable cause to believe you didn't turn them all over, then they can get a warrant to search for them. But some states, they just show up and you have no idea what's going on. It's just that's the kind of thing where people in Germany used to fear that knock on the door. In America. We're working on that.
Well, and the Czech Republic, and we see it in so many places where the right to defend yourself is not one that's set aside. Even in places where the government gives you your rights, they usually don't give you that one there. And a casual reminder, let's not forget the one word that doesn't appear in the Second Amendment is the word gun. It's about being armed to defend yourself, and that includes training and things like that. And you have lots of stuff going on with the VCDL on making sure that any Second Amendment participant, if you will, in Virginia is well trained in not just the use of their armaments, but in being aware enough to get into a position of needing it.
Yeah, you have to understand the law and how self-defense works and all that, so that you don't end up on the wrong end of something because you didn't realize one aspect or another of the law. The craziness continues. Our beloved Attorney General in Virginia, Herring, put out a tweet a day or two ago saying that yes, the NRA should be held accountable for all the gun violence in America.
Unbelievable.
And I couldn't help but respond to that. I said that is the most outrageous thing, And I said, "You're not." I said, "Mr. Attorney General, you're not smoking any of that pot early before it's legal, are you?"
Well, I mean, you read the statistics: 40 people in Chicago, 20 people in St. Louis shot in gang violence. I'm sure these are not NRA members or in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, NRA teaches you how to handle. Look, the gun control crowd likes to call themselves, gun safety people. They're not about gun safety. Gun safety to them is there are no guns. That's gun safety. They don't know how to even tell somebody how to shoot a gun safely. They got no idea.
Right.
The NRA has their focus. A lot of it's been training, making sure that people are safe, and all that's paid off. Accidentally, people getting shot have dropped dramatically over the years. That's what they do. You never see anything that they're encouraging criminal behavior. They're just the opposite. So what he said was an absolute blatant lie, and you would expect better from somebody that's in a high office like that to be truthful, but it's not there.
Philip Van Cleave is on with us, president of the Virginia Citizens Defense League, and please look them up, become a member, vcdl.org there. We've talked about this in abstract in visits past, but moreover, even than the things that we can take into court, like a law, as the Supreme Court is going to take up New York's laws regarding issuing permits, are the shadow bans and places where people are sending me their homeowners insurance applications and questions like do you own firearms, and all of a sudden we're seeing these showing up in health insurance questionnaires and things like that, and veterans are being queried about it, and when you go in for medical if you want to go speak to a therapist, they ask you questions like do you own a firearm on your entry interviews. These sort of shadow shadow bans. What can we do, and what is the VCDL trying to help folks do to push back against those?
Yeah, it just depends on how they're doing it. Some questions I don't know if I would even bother answering. And honestly, some of these questions, if they violate your privacy, as far as I'm concerned, you don't have to answer them accurately, depending on who it is. If it's some private company asking you a question, you have no obligation to answer that question, either to answer it at all or to you could say, no, I'm not a gun owner. If you want to. I mean, who cares? It's they're asking a question they shouldn't be asking, and therefore you're not obligated to give them an answer of any sort or whatever. So. But I think that SunTrust started putting up no gun signs, so I've moved all my accounts. I'm on the verge of closing the last one out of there. Mm-hmm. And I told the manager, I didn't just do it. I told the manager why, and then then I got some other questions coming in from other people in SunTrust, and again, every time they contacted me, I told them exactly why. I said, when I first went to SunTrust, I checked to make sure they didn't have a no-gun policy, and they didn't. I said, now that you merged with BB&T, now suddenly guns are bad, and I'm not wasting my time with any bank that's going to make me a sitting duck for criminals. In fact, I told the manager about a story out of, I think it was Tidewater, and it was about a bank being robbed, and had a photograph in the story, and it showed the FBI dusting off fingerprints right over the no gun sign on the glass door.
Oh my gosh!
So it's like, hello.
It's where all the money is. It's where the money is, and they're unarmed. Wow, what a target-rich environment that is. Pardon the pun. If you go to vcdl.org, there's a great map that shows all the Second Amendment sanctuary counties in Virginia. So as I look at this map, I'm struck wistfully by something, and I remember the days our friend Mark Fitzgibbons helped get legislation in that became the property rights constitutional amendment that passed the House a couple of times, then passed Virginia overwhelmingly 75, even 65% of the city of Charlottesville supported property rights protection. So does this map, and then you couple it with other stories like that, start to make you feel like, politically, I don't think we're really nearly as polarized as the two political parties make us out to be if you break it down to core principles like private property sovereignty and self-defense?
Yeah, I think you're right in that. I think the battle between the two parties, the two major parties, is not necessarily indicative of the vast majority of people, especially here in Virginia. I think you'll find most people are very, very much understanding what self-defense is all about. Yes, there's exceptions, but not to the degree that we're seeing. In fact, if you go to our website, we've got the voting records for 2021 for all of the legislators in the Virginia General Assembly. And there's some interesting stuff in there. The first thing that jumps out if you look at the Senate is that all the Republicans except one, which is Tommy Norman, all of them voted 100% pro-gun this year. Mm-hmm. Tommy Norman voted like 86%, which is, nothing to sneeze at, but he's also out of step with everybody else in the Republican Party. The nearest Democrat had a 19% rating. So if you look at that chart for the Senate, it's red on top, blue on the bottom. There's no mixture anywhere in there. In fact, the worst Republican at 86% was way above the best Democrat at 19%. If you looked at the House, same thing. There you have a huge number of Republicans, and all of them were 100% pro-gun in their voting except one, a Coiner, and she got like an 81% or something, voting with the Democrats on guns a few times. Mm-hmm. And there was one Democrat that had 100%. The House was the one exception there. They had one Democrat at 100%.
You have to tell me who it is then.
I'm sorry?
Who was it? They're the unicorn. If I find them in a rainbow, I might find a pot of gold as well.
Yeah, the area that was covered was between Richmond, or no, let's see, I guess it's Prince George down, and the legislator's name is just slipping my mind right now. She's a black legislator. It'll come to me in a minute. But she was the only one that voted 100%. I keep wanting to say Lucas, and that's not her. That's a senator who's horrible.
I see it here. I'm on the page now. It's Rosalind Tyler.
Rosalind Tyler. I just couldn't think of Tyler to save my soul. Yes,
well, let's hear it for Rosalind Tyler.
She voted perfectly this year. She voted extremely well last year. She has gotten the message across that, I mean, she understands that, especially in her area, that gun rights are important. Mm-hmm. She's voting, and you correctly. Meanwhile, the next Democrat, number 2 in line, was at 50%. So
wow,
way above the Senate, but still well below the worst Republican.
Philip, and I'm trying to word this question carefully because, both your organization and mine, we're not trying to get involved in politics, but should Virginia voters going into the gubernatorial race be concerned? There was much made before the Republican Party nomination that one of the candidates hadn't, responded to the VCDL survey, and that nominee won the nomination. Has that been resolved? Should Virginia voters be concerned about that? Should they look at that, as they go to make a choice in election 2021?
Well, it's disappointing, and let me say that of course, it wasn't just our survey. He claims he doesn't do any surveys, but the problem is to say if you don't do a survey and somebody says, "Well, I'm good on something," we have those of us that deal with the Second Amendment refer to some people as a Second Amendment but person. I support the Second Amendment, but I don't think anybody needs more than 10 rounds in a magazine. Right. I support the Second Amendment, but I think, you should have to get a permit to open carry or something. Those, it's like, what? Right. And so those are the kind of things that gun owners are on the lookout for. So, look, Chuck Schumer claims to support the Second Amendment. It's just a different Second Amendment than you and I understand.
That's right.
And so you want to know those details. And the thing is, if you don't give those details, then what a voter's stuck with is saying, okay, I think this person is better than the other person. But that means that you're kind of going in and going, okay, well, they're better. Yep, I'll support them. As opposed to knowing where they are and saying, wow, I really like this guy. This is wonderful. We need him in. Then you get the excitement factor going. You're talking to your neighbors, your friends. Wow. As opposed to, yeah, he's better than the other guy. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? There's an excitement factor if you can get people to understand what you really stand for, as opposed to some vague. Because we've heard this, I support the Second Amendment. How many times have you heard that joke from one politician or another?
I know. Hey, real quick before we finish up, next weekend, I know that you have Salem. You guys will have a booth at the C&E Gun Show in Salem. Mm-hmm. People can come out and visit you. I know they're listening in the Roanoke area and Lynchburg, and head on over to the gun show there.
Yes, absolutely. We are. In fact, we're excited to see these gun shows starting to roll back in again, and we're also trying to be at other events. But yeah, absolutely, we'll be at the gun show. It's a great chance to come by and say hello. And I think we have a booth outside and inside at that show, if I'm not mistaken.
Terrific. So, and be a member and actually, join in, volunteer to help at some of these shows. It's a lot of fun as well. VCDL.org. Philip Van Cleave, president there. We keep pushing on it. It seems like you're always the most needed guy in the Virginia discussions. One of these days, we'll let you take a day off.
Yeah, I'd be glad if we could just move the subject away and just settle at the fact that we've got gun rights, and that's good, and let's support them, and that's it. Nobody's fighting against us. It's just not going to happen.
Well, we'll see what the Supreme Court does. Have a blessed weekend, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Joe.
And thank you, and for all the Gold Star families and anyone who's lost somebody in our service, and even just those who understand what it means to have given the ultimate sacrifice for our liberties. They should be even more redoubly precious to you on this Memorial Day weekend. On behalf of all of us here at the Virginia Institute for Public Policy, I will paraphrase myself. So long, and thanks for all your sacrifice.